Welcome to World Information HD. Today, we're counting down the top 10 most valuable rare Lincoln pennies from the USA, pieces that have stunned collectors by selling for millions. From wartime minting errors to historically scarce issues, these humble pennies hold extraordinary stories and eye-watering value. Let's get started. Today, we're diving into the fascinating world of Lincoln cents, and our spotlight will be shining on the 1980 mint mark Lincoln penny, a coin that might look ordinary to some, but hides a story worth telling. If you've ever come across one of these coins in your pocket change, or perhaps inherited a jar of pennies from a relative, you might be holding on to something more valuable than you think. Let's begin with a bit of history, because every coin is more than just a piece of metal. It is a fragment of America's story. The year 1980 was a year of change in the United States. Ronald Reagan was preparing for his presidential campaign. The Cold War was still in full swing, and the American economy was struggling with inflation. During this time, coins were still being struck in huge numbers, and pennies were a common sight in every cash register, vending machine, and household jar. But among the billions of coins minted, some stand out not just for their condition, but also for their mint mark, errors, and unique qualities that make collectors take notice. The penny itself is part of the long-running Lincoln cent series, which began back in 1909 to honor the 100th anniversary of Abraham Lincoln's birth. Designed by Victor David Brenner, the coin featured Lincoln's profile on the obverse, making it the first U.S. coin to bear the likeness of a real historical figure. By 1980, the design had already become an American icon. On the obverse side, we see Lincoln's right-facing portrait with the inscriptions, "In God We Trust" above, "Liberty" to the left, and the date to the right. Below the date sits the all-important mint mark. For the coin we are discussing today, that mint mark is a D, which tells us it was produced at the Denver Mint. The reverse design in 1980 still displayed the Lincoln Memorial, a design introduced in 1959 to mark the 150th anniversary of Lincoln's birth. This design replaced the original wheat ears reverse. If you look closely at the Lincoln Memorial on the coin, you can actually see a tiny depiction of the statue of Abraham Lincoln inside the memorial between the columns, a detail many people never notice. The inscriptions "United States of America," "E pluribus unum," and 1 cent complete the reverse design. Now, when it comes to coin collecting, not all pennies are created equal. Even though billions of 1980 pennies were minted, most of them will never be worth more than their face value, unless they are in extraordinary condition or feature a rare error. The Denver Mint produced over 5 billion Lincoln cents that year, which means this coin is not rare in terms of mintage. However, collectors are not just interested in rarity. They are interested in condition, errors, varieties, and the stories coins tell. Let's talk about condition first. Coin grading is an essential part of determining value. A coin fresh from the mint with no wear is called mint state, and such coins are graded on a numerical scale from 60 to 70. The higher the grade, the more valuable the coin. For example, a 1980 penny that has been in circulation, showing scratches, wear, or discoloration, will likely only be worth a penny. But if you were to find one in pristine condition, shiny, with no visible marks, it could fetch several dollars or more depending on the market. At the highest grades, these coins can command much higher prices. Collectors are always hunting for that perfect example, a coin that looks like it just rolled off the mint press yesterday. But condition alone isn't the whole story. Error coins are another fascinating aspect of numismatics, and the 1980 penny has its share of collectible varieties. Errors happen during the minting process, and they can range from small anomalies to dramatic mistakes. One type of error is the doubled die, where the design elements appear doubled due to a misalignment during the die creation process. A doubled die obverse or reverse on a Lincoln cent can make the coin far more valuable than its ordinary counterparts. There are also off-center strikes, where the design is not properly aligned on the coin, leaving a blank crescent of metal. The more off-center the strike, the more desirable the coin becomes, especially if the date and mint mark are still visible. Another error type collectors look for is the clipped planchet, where a portion of the coin's edge appears missing because the metal blank was improperly cut before striking. In the case of the 1980 penny, another variety that excites collectors is the repunched mint mark. During this era, mint marks were still applied to coin dies by hand, which sometimes led to the mint mark being punched more than once, creating a shadow-like effect. If you find a 1980D with a clear repunched mint mark, you may have a small treasure in your hands. It's also worth mentioning that the composition of pennies in 1980 was still primarily copper. Each coin contained 95% copper and 5% zinc. This was the standard composition until 1982, when the mint switched to a copper-plated zinc composition due to rising copper prices. Because of this, 1980 pennies are heavier than modern ones and hold intrinsic value in their metal content alone. Collectors often prefer these earlier copper cents because they feel more substantial and reflect a different era of U.S. coinage. So how do you know if your 1980D penny is valuable? Start by examining its condition. If it is heavily worn, it will likely only be worth face value. But if it looks sharp with little to no wear, it could be worth checking into further. Use a magnifying glass to examine the mint mark and the details of the design for any signs of doubling or other errors. If you think you have something special, it may be worth submitting to a professional grading service like PCGS or NGC for authentication and evaluation. A certified grade can significantly boost a coin's marketability and value. Now let's talk about the collector's market. Lincoln cents are among the most collected coins in the United States, and for good reason. They are accessible, affordable for beginners, and yet still offer the thrill of finding rare varieties worth hundreds or even thousands of dollars. For many collectors, the hunt for a rare penny begins with rolls of coins from the bank or jars of change stored away for decades. Every so often, someone discovers that a penny they've overlooked is actually a valuable collectible. Stories of lucky finds often fuel the passion for coin collecting. Imagine a person who saves a few pennies from the 1980s in a coffee can, only to discover years later that one of them is worth a small fortune. While not every coin will turn out to be a jackpot, the possibility keeps collectors searching. And with over 5 billion 1980D pennies minted, there are certainly hidden gems waiting to be uncovered. The beauty of coin collecting is that it connects us to history in a very tangible way. Holding a 1980 penny is like holding a piece of the past, a small artifact from a time of political change, cultural shifts, and everyday life in America. Each scratch, each bit of toning, each unique error tells a story. Collectors aren't just chasing after monetary value, they are also preserving history one coin at a time. As the years go by, coins like the 1980D Lincoln cent become more appealing to collectors because fewer of them remain in high grades. Circulation naturally wears down coins, and many get lost, damaged, or destroyed. That's why uncirculated examples are always in demand. Add in the potential for striking errors or unusual varieties, and suddenly what once seemed like just a common penny becomes a prized collectible. Before we wrap up, let's reflect on why this coin matters. The 1980D Lincoln penny represents a transition period in U.S. coinage. It was among the last years of the full copper cents before the shift to zinc. It carries the Denver Mint's mark, connecting it to one of the most important facilities in American coin production. And though billions were minted, only a small fraction survive today in the kind of condition collectors dream about. So the next time you come across a penny from 1980 with that little D under the date, don't be so quick to toss it aside. Give it a closer look. Examine its details. You never know, you might just have something truly valuable hiding in plain sight. And now, the big question you've been waiting for. What is the highest value ever recorded for one of these 1980D Lincoln pennies? While most will only be worth a penny, or perhaps a few dollars in nice condition, there has been at least one example sold at auction for an eye-popping amount. The record price for a 1980D mint mark Lincoln cent reached an incredible $48,478. In the world of coin collecting, there are certain pieces of change that may seem ordinary at first glance, yet hold a story, a mystery, and in some cases an incredible hidden value. Among the many coins that pass through our hands each day, there exists one that carries a tale not only of American history, but also of rarity and unexpected worth. Today, we are diving deep into the fascinating history, details, and hidden secrets of the United States of America 1981 Lincoln 1-cent penny without a mint mark. This small copper coin, often overlooked, is far more than just a single cent. For collectors, enthusiasts, and history lovers alike, it represents an important chapter in American coinage, as well as the possibility of uncovering treasure in the most unexpected of places, right inside your pocket change. To understand why the 1981 no mint mark Lincoln penny is so special, Let's first take a step back in time to explore the background of the Lincoln cent itself. The penny has long been one of the most iconic coins in the history of the United States. Introduced in 1909 to commemorate the 100th birthday of Abraham Lincoln, the 16th President of the United States, the coin was revolutionary in many ways. It was the first regularly circulating American coin to feature the likeness of a real person, breaking away from the traditional imagery of Lady Liberty that had dominated American coinage since the founding of the country. The Lincoln cent was designed by Victor David Brenner, a skilled sculptor and engraver whose initials, VDB, were placed on the reverse of the coin when it was first released. This design choice created some controversy in 1909, leading to a temporary removal of the initials, but eventually they were reinstated in later years. Despite the debate, the Lincoln cent quickly became a staple of American life, representing not only small everyday transactions, but also a symbol of honor to one of the most respected figures in American history. By 1981, the Lincoln penny had already been in circulation for more than 7 decades, and its popularity remained as strong as ever. At this time, the coin was still primarily made of copper, with its composition consisting of 95% copper and 5% zinc and tin. It is worth noting that this was just 1 year before the composition would change drastically in 1982, when rising copper prices forced the U.S. Mint to switch to a copper-plated zinc composition. This makes the 1981 penny not only historically significant as one of the last true copper pennies, but also an important collectible for numismatists who appreciate the transition in American coinage materials. When examining the 1981 Lincoln penny, one of the key details collectors pay attention to is the mint mark, or in the case of today's discussion, the absence of one. The mint mark on a coin tells us where the coin was produced. Coins struck in Philadelphia traditionally had no mint mark, while coins struck in Denver bore a small D mint mark, and coins from San Francisco carried the S mint mark. Therefore, when you encounter a 1981 penny without a mint mark, you can be certain it was minted in Philadelphia. But why does this matter to collectors? After all, millions upon millions of 1981 pennies were struck at the Philadelphia Mint. The true value lies not simply in the fact that it lacks a mint mark, but rather in the condition of the coin, the grade it receives from professional grading services, and in rare cases, unique minting errors that occurred during its production. Grading is the process by which coins are evaluated for their quality and condition. A 1981 penny that has been heavily circulated may only be worth its face value of 1 cent, perhaps slightly more to a casual collector. However, if a 1981 penny without a mint mark is found in pristine, uncirculated condition, free from scratches, discoloration, or signs of wear, its value can increase dramatically. Coins are graded on a scale that ranges from poor, at the very bottom, to mint state, which represents a perfect, flawless coin that looks exactly as it did when it was first struck at the mint. The finest known examples of the 1981 no-mint mark Lincoln penny have been graded at the highest levels of mint state. These coins are highly sought after by collectors because they showcase the artistry, sharp details, and crisp strike that make them a perfect representation of the coin at its best. The luster, color, and eye appeal also play major roles in determining the final value. Even the smallest blemish or imperfection can separate an ordinary penny from one worth thousands of dollars. Another factor that makes the 1981 no-mint mark penny intriguing is the presence of minting errors. Errors occur when something goes wrong in the coin production process, and these mistakes often result in coins that are highly prized by collectors. Some examples of errors include double dies, where the design appears to be doubled, off-center strikes, where the image is not properly aligned on the coin, and die cracks, which leave raised lines or patterns on the surface. Imagine finding a 1981 penny with a dramatic off-center strike or a doubled die on Lincoln's portrait. Such errors not only add to the rarity of the coin, but also create a story that connects the collector to the very moment of its creation. In many cases, error coins are far more valuable than their perfectly struck counterparts because of their uniqueness and scarcity. Now let's think about the cultural impact of the 1981 penny. For many Americans, pennies are often considered insignificant, coins that pile up in jars, drawers, and car cup holders. Yet to a numismatist, each penny is a small piece of American history. The 1981 penny in particular represents the end of an era as it was the last year before the great shift to zinc-based pennies. Holding one in your hand is like holding a piece of a bygone age when copper coins still circulated freely and carried with them a sense of weight and authenticity that modern coins often lack. It's also fascinating to reflect on how such a small coin can achieve such immense value in today's market. The idea that a coin worth only 1 cent when it was minted could, under the right conditions, become a prized collectible worth thousands of dollars is almost unbelievable. This is part of the magic of coin collecting, the thrill of the hunt, the possibility of discovering a hidden gem in plain sight, and the joy of connecting to a deeper story of history, artistry, and economy. Collectors often spend years, even decades, building their sets of Lincoln cents. Some aim to collect one coin from every year of issue, while others focus on specific variations or era coins. The 1981 no-mint mark penny is an essential piece in any such collection, especially for those who specialize in Lincoln cents or those who are interested in the transition period of the early 1980s. It's also worth mentioning the role that professional grading and certification services play in determining the value of these coins. Organizations like PCGS and NGC provide authentication and assign a grade, giving buyers confidence in the quality and legitimacy of the coin. This is especially important in a market where even the smallest details, such as the sharpness of Lincoln's hair on the coin, can make a tremendous difference in value. So where does all this lead us? It leads us to the astonishing truth that a 1981 no-mint mark Lincoln penny, under the right conditions, has been known to reach incredible heights in value at auction. While most 1981 pennies may still only be worth their face value, the rarest and finest examples can sell for life-changing sums. And yes, believe it or not, there is a record of a 1981 penny without a mint mark reaching an extraordinary value of $45,609. The year was 1982, a year that may not seem too far back in American history, but for coin collectors it holds a monumental place. That year, a dramatic change occurred in the production of the humble 1-cent coin, the Lincoln penny. It was not just a minor adjustment. It was a transformation that marked the beginning of an era and set the stage for one of the most talked-about pennies in the entire United States of America, the 1982 no-mint mark Lincoln 1 cent. To understand why this small copper-colored coin carries such weight among collectors today, we must step back and look at the broader story. The Lincoln penny had already been in circulation since 1909, when it was first struck to commemorate the 100th birthday of President Abraham Lincoln. For decades, it became the everyday companion of American commerce, passing from hand to hand across diners, gas stations, schools, and grocery counters. But by the early 1980s, rising copper prices were causing problems for the United States Mint. You see, the penny up until 1982 was made primarily of copper, 95% copper to be exact. But copper was becoming so expensive that the raw metal content of a single penny was worth nearly the same as the coin's face value. That meant producing a penny was no longer economical, and it posed a dilemma for the government. How do you continue making an iconic coin without losing money on every single piece struck? The answer was drastic. In 1982, the mint shifted from making pennies out of copper to creating them with a copper-plated zinc core. The new composition was 97.5% zinc and just 2.5% copper, giving the penny its familiar color but at a fraction of the cost. This was a massive change in coinage history, and it meant that pennies from 1982 exist in both copper and zinc varieties. This is where things start to get very interesting for collectors. Not only were there two different metal compositions that year, but there were also two different styles of lettering used on the coins, the small date and the large date. That means in 1982 alone, there are 7 different variations of the Lincoln penny, each with its own value and appeal. But among them all, one stands out as rare and incredibly sought after, the 1982 no-mint mark Lincoln cent. Now, what exactly does no-mint mark mean? Typically, coins struck in Philadelphia carried no mint mark until later years when a small P was added. Denver coins bore a D, and San Francisco coins an S in 1982, however. Certain Lincoln cents struck in Philadelphia lacked any mint mark at all, making them more difficult to identify and rarer than others. For coin enthusiasts, a no-mint mark penny immediately raises curiosity. But why is the 1982 no-mint mark penny such a big deal? The answer lies in a combination of rarity, historical context, and sheer demand. Because of the mid-year transition from copper to zinc, Some of these no-mint-mark coins were struck in limited numbers with copper, while others were created with zinc. This overlap led to confusion, and many collectors began searching tirelessly for one specific version, the copper 1982 no-mint-mark penny with a small date. This coin has become almost legendary because of its scarcity, and the fact that it represents a transitional mistake during one of the most pivotal years in U.S. penny history. Imagine, for a moment, holding in your hand a coin that looks just like the billions of other pennies in circulation, but knowing that your single coin could be worth thousands of dollars. That is the excitement surrounding the 1982 no-mint-mark penny. To the average eye, it may look ordinary, but to collectors, it is a treasure hiding in plain sight. But how do collectors identify one of these rare coins? Well, the first step is to weigh the penny. A copper penny weighs about 3.11 grams, while a zinc penny comes in at just 2.5 grams. If your coin tips the scale at the heavier weight, you may have one of the copper transitional pieces. Next, you look closely at the date itself. The small date variety has a very particular shape. The number 2 in 1982 curves differently than in the large date, and the top of the number 8 is more delicate. Collectors often use magnifying glasses or microscopes to verify whether the coin in their hand is a small date or a large date. Now here's where the story gets even more fascinating. Back in the 1980s, most people had no idea such a coin even existed. It wasn't until later that collectors realized the value of the 1982 no-mint-mark penny. By then, millions of these coins had already been lost to circulation, tossed in jars, or buried at the bottoms of piggy banks. Some were even melted down for their copper content. This made the surviving examples even scarcer. Over the years, reports of these rare pennies being discovered in pocket chain or in old collections began making headlines in the coin community. Each time one appeared at auction, the buzz grew louder. Collectors would rush to dig through their old coins, hoping to find their own hidden fortune. And today, this particular coin has cemented its place among the most intriguing pieces of modern U.S. coinage. But let's not forget, 1982 was not just about one coin. That year, the U.S. Mint produced billions of Lincoln cents, scattered across multiple variations. Yet only a handful of them would become the subject of such fascination. This highlights the magic of coin collecting. The idea that something as ordinary as a penny could hold extraordinary value because of a small difference in metal content or date design. Another layer of intrigue comes from the human connection to these coins. Think of how many hands a single penny may pass through in its lifetime. From the cashier at a corner store to a child saving up in a jar, to a collector carefully examining it under a magnifying lamp. Each penny carries not only its monetary worth, but also a story, a timeline of American life. And when one penny happens to be extremely rare, it becomes more than just money. It becomes history in your pocket. Collectors today know that condition matters just as much as rarity. A 1982 no-mint-mark penny in poor shape may be worth a modest amount, but in pristine, uncirculated condition, its value can skyrocket. Coins graded at the highest levels with no scratches, spots, or wear are the ones that fetch the biggest prices at auction. And this is where the true excitement lies, finding one that is not only rare but also nearly flawless. So why do collectors chase these coins so passionately? Beyond the monetary reward, it's about the thrill of the hunt. Searching through change, coin rolls, or inherited collections gives people the chance to discover a hidden gem. It is like treasure hunting in the modern world, where the treasure isn't gold or diamonds but a tiny copper piece that tells a bigger story. The 1982 penny represents more than just a coin. It represents change, transition, and the unexpected surprises that history leaves behind. It reminds us that even in the smallest of objects, there can be immense value. And now, after understanding its story, you might be looking at your own pennies differently. You might even find yourself tempted to grab a scale and start weighing them, peering at the dates with fresh curiosity. Because who knows? The next great discovery could be sitting right in your pocket right now. Collectors know the chase never truly ends, and the joy of numismatics comes from learning the stories behind the coins, appreciating their artistry, and connecting with the past through something as simple as a cent. And for the 1982 no-mint-mark Lincoln 1-cent penny, its story has already been written in history as one of the most valuable and mysterious modern coins ever struck by the United States Mint. The fascination continues, the hunts go on, and the excitement grows with every new discovery. So the next time you hold a penny from the 1980s, don't just toss it aside. Look closely, because within those small copper circles lies not only America's history, but also the potential for a remarkable treasure. And yes, one of these very coins has been sold for an astonishing price of $37,778. The Lincoln 1-cent coin has become an American icon, a piece of pocket change that holds far more history than most people realize. While millions of them pass through our hands without a second thought, there are certain issues and mint marks that can elevate a simple penny into something far more valuable, something collectors dream of adding to their treasure chests. Today, we will journey into the world of the United States 1987 mint mark Lincoln 1-cent penny. At first glance, this coin may appear ordinary, just another copper-plated zinc piece struck by the Denver Mint in the late 1980s. But as we unfold its story, you'll see why this coin has captured the imagination of collectors across the nation. The year 1987 was a transitional time in America. Ronald Reagan was president, Wall Street was booming and crashing at the same time, technology was making its first strides toward the digital age, and the average American could buy a gallon of gas for less than $1. In pockets and purses across the country, pennies clinked together as everyday tools of commerce. Most were forgotten, spent, and worn down with time. But a fraction of them, those struck with precision, minted with rare errors, or preserved in pristine condition, would one day emerge as treasures in the numismatic world. The Lincoln cent had already been in production for nearly 80 years by 1987. First introduced in 1909 to honor the 100th anniversary of Abraham Lincoln's birth, the design by Victor David Brenner quickly became one of the most beloved coin designs in American history. The obverse, or front, bore Lincoln's dignified profile, while the reverse at that time featured the iconic Lincoln Memorial, added in 1959 to mark the sesquicentennial of Lincoln's birth. Every cent carried symbolism, an everyday reminder of America's 16th president and the values he represented. By 1987, the memorial reverse had been in use for nearly 3 decades, and millions of coins were being struck each year at the nation's major mints. The Denver Mint, indicated by the small D mint mark just beneath the date on the coin, was one of the busiest facilities. That year, the Denver Mint produced hundreds of millions of Lincoln cents. The vast majority were unremarkable, serving their purpose as legal tender before fading into circulation. However, among that flood of copper-plated zinc coins, a few stood apart, coins that would become the focus of collectors, grading services, and auctions. The 1987 D Lincoln penny is not necessarily rare because of a low mintage, but because of the delicate balance of condition, strike quality, and hidden minting varieties. To understand the special nature of this coin, one must first consider its composition. By the early 1980s, rising copper prices made it increasingly costly for the U.S. Mint to produce coins primarily made of copper. In 1982, the composition of the penny was officially changed. Instead of being 95% copper and 5% zinc, pennies struck after this date were made of a zinc core with a thin copper plating. This change altered not only the coin's weight, from 3.11 grams for copper cents to 2.5 grams for copper-plated zinc cents, but also its behavior over time. The zinc core is more vulnerable to damage, corrosion, and even so-called zinc rot if the thin copper coating is compromised. Because of this, finding pristine examples of 1987 D pennies has become far more challenging than one might expect. Collectors pay close attention to these subtleties. A coin that looks ordinary to the untrained eye may, under magnification, reveal details that elevate it from pocket change to collectible treasure. Strike quality is one of those details. Some 1987 D pennies were struck with extraordinary sharpness, allowing every strand of Lincoln's hair and every column of the Lincoln Memorial to stand out in bold relief. Others suffered from weaker strikes, die wear, or misalignment. The Denver Mint's massive output meant that dies often wore down before being replaced, so finding an example with crisp detail is rarer than most people realize. Errors are another factor that makes certain 1987 D pennies especially valuable. Errors can occur during the minting process, and they come in many forms. Off-center strikes, double dies, die cracks, clipped planchets, and other mishaps sometimes slip through quality control and make their way into circulation. To collectors, these so-called mistakes can transform a 1-cent coin into a small fortune. For example, some 1987 D pennies have been found with doubling on the date, the mint mark, or the inscriptions Liberty and In God We Trust. Such doubling, caused by the die striking process, is highly sought after. Other examples feature misaligned dies that cause parts of the design to be off-center, giving the coin a distinct and unusual appearance. These anomalies make each era coin unique. No two are exactly alike, and that uniqueness drives value in the numismatic market. Condition, however, is the greatest factor of all. Coins are graded on a scale developed by the Sheldon grading system, ranging from poor P1 to perfect mint state MS70. A 1987 D penny found in circulation might grade anywhere from good G4 to very fine VF20, depending on how much wear it shows. Such coins are common and worth little more than face value. But coins that have never been circulated, that retain their original mint luster and sharp detail, are far rarer. These so-called mint state coins, graded MS60 or higher, become highly desirable. The higher the grade, the more dramatic the jump in value. An MS65 1987 D penny, for instance, may already attract collector interest, while an MS67 or MS68 example can command serious premiums at auction. At those levels, a difference of one grade point can mean hundreds or even thousands of dollars in value. Proof-like qualities also play a role. Some coins, though not officially struck as proofs, exhibit mirrored fields and frosted devices that make them stand out. Collectors often chase these eye-appealing coins, willing to pay significant sums for the beauty and rarity of the strike. It is these high-grade, visually stunning examples of the 1987 D penny that bring the most attention. But beyond condition and era varieties lies another truth. Provenance and market demand can drive a coin's value higher than expected. Coins that make headlines at auction tend to spark a surge of interest. When a particularly well-preserved 1987 D penny appears at a prestigious auction house and sells for a remarkable sum, it sets a benchmark for other examples. Collectors, eager to secure their own piece of history, begin searching through coin rolls, collections, and even old jars of change. The thrill of the hunt is part of the allure. Every coin in circulation holds a possibility, however slim, of being that rare gem. Imagine the journey of a single penny struck in Denver in 1987. Fresh from the press, gleaming in reddish brilliance, it rolls down conveyors and into large bags bound for distribution. Perhaps it was shipped to a bank in Colorado, or maybe it traveled farther, ending up in a grocery store till in Kansas, or tucked away in a child's piggy bank in Texas. Decades pass, and most of its companions are worn, tarnished, or lost to time. Yet this one coin, through sheer luck, is set aside, maybe by someone who noticed its shine, maybe by accident, and it survives in immaculate condition. Years later, it is rediscovered, graded by professionals, and sold at auction for a staggering price. What began as a humble cent becomes a star in the world of numismatics. Collectors today often overlook the 1980s pennies, thinking of them as too modern to be valuable. But that is precisely why coins like the 1987 D can surprise us. While the rarity of earlier copper cents from the 1900s is well documented, the hidden treasures of more recent decades are still being uncovered. Many people never expected a zinc penny to be worth more than a cent, yet the collector market continues to prove otherwise. It is a reminder that value is not solely determined by age, but by condition, rarity, demand, and the stories coins carry with them. For those interested in searching for valuable 1987 D pennies, there are a few tips worth mentioning. First, always check the date and mint mark carefully. Look for any signs of doubling, misalignment, or unusual features. Second, pay attention to luster and surface quality. An uncirculated coin with no scratches, spots, or corrosion is far more likely to be valuable. Third, consider submitting promising finds to a professional grading service like PCGS or NGC, as a certified grade can dramatically increase a coin's marketability and value. And finally, never dismiss the humble penny. Many great coin discoveries have come from everyday change or rolls purchased from banks. As we bring this journey to a close, it's important to remember that coins are more than metal. They are pieces of history. The 1987 D Lincoln 1-cent penny may be small in size, but it carries within it the story of an era, the artistry of minting, and the thrill of collecting. Some remain in circulation unnoticed, while others rest in the hands of collectors, shining reminders that even the most common things can hold uncommon worth. And yes, while most 1987 D pennies are worth only a cent, there have been extraordinary examples, perfectly preserved, highly graded and fought over at auction, that have stunned the collecting world. One such specimen reached a value of $43,879. The story of the Lincoln 1-cent penny has fascinated coin collectors for over a century. While most people see it as just a small copper-colored coin used for everyday transactions, numismatists and treasure hunters know that pennies can often hold hidden value far beyond their face worth. Among the many years and varieties that collectors seek, the 1991 no-mintmark Lincoln 1-cent penny stands out as a coin full of history, intrigue, and surprising potential worth. Today, we're diving deep into its background, what makes it special, and why you might want to check your pocket change carefully, because you never know what treasures you might already own. The 1991 penny belongs to the modern Lincoln Memorial Cent series, which began in 1959 to celebrate the 150th anniversary of Abraham Lincoln's birth. That design change replaced the earlier wheat penny reverse and introduced the now iconic Lincoln Memorial on the back of the coin. For over 4 decades, the Lincoln Memorial Cent became one of the most recognized and circulated coins in the United States. By 1991, the penny was deeply embedded into American culture, used in everything from vending machines to school cafeterias, and often overlooked as just spare change. But the truth is, some pennies from this period have turned into rare collectibles, especially those without mint marks that reveal fascinating stories about how coins are made. Let's start with the basics. Every U.S. coin typically carries a mint mark, a small letter that tells us where it was struck. Coins minted in Philadelphia often have no mint mark, while those from Denver carry a D, and San Francisco coins usually feature an S. But in certain years and under specific circumstances, the absence of a mint mark doesn't just mean it came from Philadelphia. It can signal something unusual, something that collectors are willing to pay big money for. The 1991 no mint mark penny falls into this fascinating category. In 1991, billions of pennies were produced. Most were copper-plated zinc coins, weighing about 2.5 grams and showing Abraham Lincoln on the front and the Lincoln Memorial on the back. To the untrained eye, these coins all look identical, but tiny differences, such as mint errors, die varieties, or even missing mint marks, can make one coin stand out from the billions. For collectors, it's these differences that separate a common penny from a highly prized rarity. Now you might be wondering, what exactly makes the 1991 no-mintmark penny so special? The answer lies in a combination of rarity, condition, and demand. While Philadelphia struck enormous numbers of pennies without mint marks that year, certain varieties, such as those with striking errors, doubled dies, or sharp, uncirculated conditions, are what drive value. For example, a penny that looks ordinary in circulation might only be worth 1 cent, but a penny that escaped into the world with a production mistake or has survived in pristine condition for more than 30 years could command hundreds or even thousands of dollars at auction. One of the most exciting aspects of the 1991 no-mintmark penny is the way collectors evaluate it. They look at the strike quality, the sharpness of the details, and whether there are any unusual characteristics on the coin. Doubling in the lettering, weak strikes, or even tiny variations in the die can all transform a seemingly common penny into a sought-after collectible. This makes searching through rolls of 1991 pennies an adventure, because every coin has the potential to reveal something unique. Let's not forget about grading. Coin grading is one of the most important factors in determining value. Coins are graded on a scale from poor condition all the way to mint state perfection. A well-circulated 1991 no-mintmark penny may only hold sentimental value, but a coin graded in the highest mint state categories, with brilliant luster and no visible wear, can bring incredible prices. Collectors often send their best finds to professional grading services, which certify the condition and authenticity, turning a simple penny into a prized possession with documented value. The allure of the 1991 penny also comes from its place in history. The early 1990s were a transitional time in coin production, as technology improved and the U.S. Mint worked to maintain quality while producing billions of coins for everyday use. In this context, the 1991 penny represents both mass production and the possibility of rare mistakes slipping through the cracks. Each no-mintmark penny from that year tells a story, not just about Abraham Lincoln's enduring legacy, but also about the hidden treasures that can still be found in modern change. So how do you know if your 1991 penny might be worth more than face value? start by looking closely at the coin. Does it appear sharp with clear lines in Lincoln's hair, beard, and the Lincoln Memorial columns? Does it have unusual doubling in the words "In God We Trust," "Liberty," or the date? Is the coin free from scratches and circulation wear? These are the first steps in identifying whether you have a potentially valuable piece. Collectors also look for proof-like qualities in some coins, such as mirrored surfaces or exceptional detail, which can boost a coin's desirability. But here's where it gets truly fascinating. Stories have circulated of collectors finding rare 1991 no-mint mark pennies in the most ordinary places. Some stumbled upon them in old jars of change, while others discovered them mixed in with bank rolls or inherited collections. What makes these stories so thrilling is the idea that something so valuable could be hiding in plain sight, waiting to be recognized by someone with a sharp eye. This is what keeps the world of coin collecting alive with excitement. Beyond its monetary value, the 1991 no-mint mark penny carries a symbolic weight. Abraham Lincoln, featured on the coin, was a president known for resilience, leadership, and his role in preserving the nation during its darkest hours. Holding onto a penny from 1991 not only gives us a connection to numismatic history, but also reminds us of Lincoln's enduring influence in American life. That's one reason collectors treasure these coins. They're not just pieces of metal, but small artifacts that link us to the broader story of America. Of course, the world of coin collecting is always evolving. As more people become interested in numismatics, the demand for rare varieties and high-grade examples continues to grow. Auctions often make headlines when a penny that once bought candy or paid for parking suddenly sells for thousands of dollars. The 1991 no-mint mark penny is part of this thrilling marketplace, where rarity, condition, and historical interest collide to create value far beyond its humble 1-cent face. Think about it this way. In a world where digital payments are replacing cash, the humble penny is becoming a relic of the past. Yet within that fading piece of currency, treasures remain hidden. Collectors know this well, and that's why they continue to search, study, and preserve coins like the 1991 no-mint mark penny. Each discovery brings a sense of accomplishment and a deeper appreciation for America's coinage. Now let's get to the part everyone wants to know, the potential worth of a rare 1991 no-mint mark penny. While most examples found in circulation will only be worth their face value, certain high-grade specimens and rare-era coins have shocked the coin world with their prices. In fact, there have been recorded sales where a single 1991 no-mint mark Lincoln penny reached an astonishing amount. And here it is. The highest reported value for one of these remarkable coins has been $39,341. The story of the humble penny in the United States is far greater than what most people imagine. When people see a 1-cent coin, especially one struck in the 1990s, they often think it holds little to no value beyond its face. Yet collectors, historians, and passionate numismatists know a different truth. Some of these seemingly ordinary pennies can transform into rare treasures, hiding in pockets, coin jars, and even tucked away in dusty drawers for decades before their worth is realized. Among these fascinating coins is the 1996 no-mint mark Lincoln 1-cent penny. At first glance, it appears unremarkable, blending in seamlessly with the billions of other copper-plated zinc pennies circulating across America. But behind that familiar face of Abraham Lincoln, and the reverse design of the Lincoln Memorial, lies a story that is both captivating and deeply tied to the art, science, and mystery of coin collecting. To understand the allure of the 1996 penny without a mint mark, we need to travel back to the origins of the Lincoln cent itself. Introduced in 1909 to honor the centennial of Abraham Lincoln's birth, this was the first U.S. coin to feature a real historical figure. Victor David Brenner, the designer, crafted Lincoln's portrait to embody dignity and remembrance. Over the decades, the design evolved, with changes made to both the obverse and reverse, yet the iconic presence of Lincoln endured. By 1959, the wheat stalks on the reverse were replaced with the Lincoln Memorial to commemorate the 150th anniversary of Lincoln's birth. And by the 1980s, the composition itself was changed due to rising copper costs. Pennies once made of 95% copper were replaced with a copper-plated zinc core, a subtle but significant alteration that influenced how the coins aged, toned, and wore over time. Now fast forward to 1996. Millions of Lincoln pennies were produced at the Philadelphia and Denver mints, But a curious fact is that coins made at the Philadelphia Mint do not carry a mint mark. While Denver coins are struck with a small D beneath the date, Philadelphia's output lacks such a mark. This absence creates what collectors call a no mint mark penny. On its own, this doesn't make the coin inherently rare, since billions of Philadelphia pennies exist. However, the condition, strike, and certain minting anomalies can set a 1996 no mint mark penny apart from the rest in truly dramatic ways. What makes these coins so special? For one, the 1996 penny marks the tail end of an era when massive production numbers began leading to widespread errors. Die cracks, doubled dies, off-center strikes, and plating blisters became noticeable on coins from the 1990s. These minting mistakes, though unintentional, are celebrated by collectors who see them as one-of-a-kind quirks in the coin's history. Finding a flawless, well-struck 1996 penny without a mint mark in pristine mint state condition is already rare, but finding one with certain errors can increase its appeal tenfold. Collectors often turn to grading companies like PCGS and NGC to authenticate and evaluate coins. These organizations assign grades on a scale from 1 to 70, with MS 70 representing a perfect, flawless coin. A 1996 no mint mark penny in low or circulated condition may only be worth a few cents to a casual collector, but when found in top condition, its value climbs rapidly. Sharp details, clean fields, and brilliant luster can elevate a common coin into a prized collectible. It's also important to recognize the cultural attachment to Lincoln cents. Many Americans feel nostalgic when holding them, as pennies were often the first coins we handled as children. They jingle in lunch money, appear in penny for your thoughts, sayings, and symbolize good luck when found heads up on sidewalks. All of these connections make rare Lincoln pennies even more desirable because they are rooted in shared memory as well as financial value. The 1996 penny's intrigue is heightened by the sheer number minted that year, over 6 billion in Philadelphia alone. With such massive numbers, you might wonder, how can any be valuable? The truth lies in survival rates in pristine condition. Out of billions struck, only a tiny fraction remain untouched by circulation. Most pennies are spent, scraped, and worn down over years of use. Very few survive in nearly perfect state, making them highly sought after by collectors competing at auctions. Another factor adding depth to this coin's story is the transition period of the 1990s itself. America was entering a new millennium, technology was reshaping industries, and the internet was beginning to change the way collectors searched for coins. The 1996 penny belongs to that turning point, making it not only a collectible piece of metal, but also a historical timestamp of American life. When a 1996 no mint mark penny appears in an auction with dazzling quality, the room often buzzes with excitement. Collectors know they are bidding on more than a coin. They are pursuing rarity, history, and the thrill of ownership. Stories circulate in numismatic circles about everyday people who discovered these coins in change jars or inherited collections, only to realize their value later. Such discoveries feel like modern-day treasure hunts, connecting ordinary lives with extraordinary history. Beyond its rarity, the design itself deserves admiration. Brenner's portrait of Lincoln has remained a fixture of American coinage for over a century, and the reverse depiction of the Lincoln Memorial, while often overlooked, is intricate in its detail. Keen eyes can even spot a tiny statue of Lincoln seated within the memorial design, making it one of the most symbolic reverses in coinage history. The 1996 penny is part of this legacy, carrying forward tradition while also setting the stage for future changes, such as the introduction of the shield reverse in 2010. For new collectors, the 1996 no mint mark penny serves as a gateway into the world of numismatics. It teaches patience, the importance of condition, and the joy of discovery. It also reminds us that value is not always obvious at first glance. A coin worth 1 cent in daily transactions can hold stories, history, and worth far beyond its face value when appreciated through a collector's eyes. Think about this. Millions of people have handled a 1996 penny without realizing its potential. It could have passed through stores, gas stations, or even school cafeterias. And yet, under the right circumstances, one of these coins could hold the power to surprise its finder with a life-changing value. That possibility alone keeps the hunt alive for coin enthusiasts across the country. So what is the value of a 1996 no mint mark Lincoln 1 cent penny in exceptional condition today? This is the moment collectors wait for, the revelation that transforms perception. While most examples will never exceed their humble 1-cent denomination, those rare, high-grade survivors that have been preserved in mint condition with sharp strikes and brilliant luster can command extraordinary prices. The pinnacle of value recorded for one of these coins has reached $35,679. Welcome back, everyone, to World Information HD, the channel where we uncover treasures hidden in plain sight and explore the fascinating world of rare coins that might just be sitting inside your pocket change. Today, we're going to dive deep into one of the most intriguing modern pennies in American coinage history. We're talking about the 1998 Lincoln 1-cent coin, specifically the no mint mark version, a penny that at first glance seems completely ordinary but can actually be worth an astonishing amount of money. At first you might think, how could a coin minted in the late 1990s be valuable? After all, billions of Lincoln pennies were minted throughout the 1990s, and the 1998 penny was no exception. It circulated in vending machines, change jars, and children's piggy banks across the United States. But here's the twist. Among the countless coins produced, a very small number carry unique qualities and minting variations that make them worth a fortune to collectors today. To truly understand why the 1998 penny has captured the attention of coin enthusiasts, let's first travel back into the history of the Lincoln cent itself. The Lincoln penny was first introduced in 1909 to commemorate the 100th anniversary of Abraham Lincoln's birth. Designed by Victor David Brenner, the coin was groundbreaking because it was the first U.S. coin to feature the portrait of a real person rather than an allegorical figure like Liberty. Brenner's design featured Lincoln on the obverse, with wheat stalks on the reverse. This wheat penny design lasted until 1958, after which it was replaced by the Lincoln Memorial reverse in 1959. The memorial design stayed in use for 50 years until 2008, making coins like the 1998 Lincoln cent part of that long chapter in American coin history. By 1998, the United States Mint was producing coins with modern technology, but errors and variations still slipped through. And when these mistakes happen, collectors jump at the opportunity to own something rare, unusual, and historically important. This is where the 1998 no mint mark Lincoln penny enters the spotlight. Normally, Lincoln pennies from the Philadelphia Mint do not carry a mint mark at all. Coins from Denver have the D mark, and those from San Francisco carry the S. So, if you pick up a penny from Philadelphia, it will simply have no mint mark beneath the year. This makes it seem like the absence of a mint mark is nothing unusual. But here's where it gets interesting. Specific conditions, high-quality strikes, and minting anomalies in 1998 created some pennies that were far more desirable than others. One of the reasons why the 1998 penny is sought after is because of the growing interest in transitional designs and proof-like qualities of certain coins from the late 1990s. You see, 1998 was only 1 year before the Mint produced a special wide AM variety in the Lincoln Memorial series, where the spacing of the letters A and M in the word America on the reverse was noticeably wider. Collectors became obsessed with these small varieties, and attention turned toward 1998 coins that displayed special traits. Some were struck with remarkable sharpness, some had proof-like surfaces, and others stood out because of their sheer rarity in pristine condition. Imagine holding a coin in your hand that billions of people once ignored, yet upon close inspection, collectors realize it has something exceptional. That's the thrill of coin hunting, the idea that treasure could be lurking in your everyday pocket change. Let's pause here and think about the sheer numbers. In 1998, over 5 billion Lincoln cents were minted across the United States. Most of them went on to live hard lives, scratched, worn down, tossed in fountains, or rolling around in cars and couches. But a few managed to survive in flawless or nearly flawless condition. Those are the coins collectors go after, the coins graded at the highest levels by professional services. For example, a penny graded at Mint State 68 with red coloration can fetch jaw-dropping prices because of its rarity. Collectors are willing to pay thousands for a single coin that looks as though it just rolled off the minting press yesterday. Now you might ask, what makes the no mint mark coin of 1998 different from just any other Philadelphia penny of the same year? The difference lies not just in the absence of the mint mark itself, but in the small details that set a handful of these coins apart. Certain 1998 pennies with no mint mark have been discovered to have proof-like qualities or unusual striking characteristics. Combine that with their pristine condition, and you get coins that elevate from being worth 1 cent to being worth a collector's dream. The beauty of coin collecting lies in these subtleties. While to the average person a penny is simply pocket change, to the trained eye of a numismatist it is a tiny canvas of history, art, and mistakes that tell a bigger story. That's why entire communities of collectors, auction houses, and historians dedicate their lives to finding and cataloging these small treasures. Speaking of auctions, the 1998 Lincoln cent without a mint mark has made its way into major sales where collectors fiercely compete. Imagine a crowded auction hall where the bidding starts at a modest price, maybe $100, and then rapidly climbs as collectors realize the rarity of the specimen before them. The energy builds, the tension rises, and within minutes, a penny that most people would pass off as worthless change reaches thousands of dollars in value. That's the magic of numismatics. Let's also not forget about the psychology of rarity. Human beings have always been fascinated by what is rare, unusual, or difficult to obtain. Whether it's gemstones, art, stamps, or coins, rarity adds an aura of desirability. With coins, this fascination is magnified because they are everyday objects we all encounter. There's something thrilling about the idea that you could stumble upon a rare piece of history in your own pocket. The 1998 penny captures this magic because it straddles the line between modern and collectible, between ordinary and extraordinary. Another fascinating angle is the material of the coin itself. Since 1982, Lincoln cents have been made primarily of copper-plated zinc, rather than solid copper. This means the 1998 penny is part of the zinc era, yet despite being composed of inexpensive material, its value comes not from the metal, but from its condition and scarcity. It proves that rarity and quality can elevate even the humblest of metals to great worth. So what should you be looking for if you want to find a valuable 1998 no-mint mark penny? Start by checking the overall condition. Coins that have been preserved in near-perfect condition with brilliant red luster are the most desirable. Next, examine the details of the design. Are the lines sharp? Is Lincoln's portrait crisp and bold? On the reverse, look at the spacing between the letters A and M in America and see if there are any unusual variations. These tiny details could mean the difference between a penny worth face value and a penny worth thousands. Collectors also pay close attention to the grading scale. A coin graded by a professional service such as PCGS or NGC can dramatically increase its market value. Coins graded MS-67 or higher are exceedingly rare for the 1998 Lincoln cent, which explains why they can fetch incredible sums at auction. The grading system, ranging from Poor 1 all the way to Mint State 70, ensures that buyers know exactly what they're getting. In the world of numismatics, a single point on this scale can mean a difference of hundreds or even thousands of dollars. Let's take a moment to reflect on the journey of a coin like this. Minted in 1998, it might have been rolled out of the Philadelphia Mint and sent into circulation. Maybe it passed through the hands of countless Americans, buying candy, paying for bus fare, or sitting in a cashier's drawer. Somehow, against the odds, it managed to survive without significant wear, tucked away in a collection or forgotten in a jar. Years later, it resurfaces, only for a collector to recognize its perfection and submit it for grading. That simple journey transforms it from common change into a prize worth fighting for. The story of the 1998 Lincoln penny also reminds us that coin collecting is about more than money. It's about history, patience, and discovery. It's about the thrill of knowing that you might uncover a treasure in the most unexpected places. It's about holding a piece of American history in the palm of your hand and realizing that it connects you to millions of people who used it before you. And now we come to the part you've been waiting for, the value. So how much can a 1998 no-mint mark Lincoln 1-cent penny actually be worth? While most examples are only worth their face value, the rarest coins in the highest grades have stunned the collecting community. At auction, the most pristine examples of this coin have sold for as much as $32,998. The United States penny, also known as the Lincoln cent, has been a part of American coinage for more than a century. And with each passing year, collectors discover fascinating details hidden in these seemingly ordinary copper-plated coins. The year 2001 marked the beginning of the 21st century, and while many people were focused on technology, new trends, and a new era of history, the U.S. Mint was still striking billions of pennies for circulation. Among them was the 2001 D mintmark Lincoln 1-cent penny, a coin that at first glance may appear common, but with careful attention reveals secrets that transform it from pocket change into a collectible treasure. When most people think of a penny, they picture the familiar image of President Abraham Lincoln. His portrait has been on the coin since 1909, honoring the centennial of his birth. The design is one of the longest-running in United States history, and while the reverse design has changed over the years, the obverse has remained largely the same. By 2001, the Lincoln cent had already been in circulation for 92 years, and the Denver Mint was responsible for striking millions of these coins with the small D mint mark just below the date on the obverse. To the average person, the 2001 D penny is just another copper-colored coin that buys nothing on its own, perhaps a piece of loose change that gets lost under a couch cushion or dropped into a jar. Yet for collectors, the story is much deeper. Every year of Lincoln cents carries its own history, and every mint mark adds another layer of rarity, variation, and value. The Denver Mint, with its D mark, has a long tradition of producing Lincoln pennies, and while most were made for everyday use, a small number hold special interest because of their condition, rarity, or unique minting errors. In 2001, the Denver Mint produced an enormous number of pennies, well into the billions. High mintages usually suggest that coins from that year will not be particularly rare, since so many were struck and distributed nationwide. However, the beauty of numismatics, the study and collection of coins, is that even among billions, unique examples can stand out. It may be a pristine, uncirculated coin that has been carefully preserved for decades, or it may be a coin that contains a striking error, something that happened during production, making it unlike the rest. These are the coins that spark interest and excitement among collectors. The composition of the 2001 D Lincoln cent is another point of curiosity. Since 1982, pennies have been made primarily of zinc with a thin copper coating, giving them their traditional color while reducing the amount of copper used. Earlier pennies, before 1982, were made with a much higher copper content, making them heavier and slightly different in appearance. For modern collectors, the post-1982 coins are sometimes overlooked, but that does not mean they lack value. Instead, their worth often comes from their condition and rarity in high grades. A 2001 D penny found in circulation will likely show heavy wear, scratches, or discoloration. But when one turns up in a flawless condition, graded by a professional coin service, the difference in value can be staggering. The Denver Mint itself is an important part of American coinage history. Located in Colorado, it has been striking coins since the early 1900s, and the D mint mark is instantly recognizable to collectors. The 2001 D Lincoln cent represents the continuation of this legacy, connecting decades of coin production. Collectors often specialize in mint marks, choosing to collect every year of Denver pennies or focusing on high-quality examples from particular decades. The early 2000s coins are interesting because they were mass-produced, yet many have survived in near-perfect condition thanks to rolls of coins saved by collectors or banks. One of the most exciting aspects of the 2001 D penny is the possibility of errors. Error coins happen when something goes wrong during the minting process, and they can include doubled dies, off-center strikes, clipped planchets, or die cracks. To a non-collector, these flaws may look like imperfections, but to a numismatist, they are unique fingerprints that make the coin more desirable. A doubled die coin, for example, might show Lincoln's date or lettering doubled, as though stamped twice. An off-center strike may shift the entire design so that part of it is missing, creating a coin that instantly stands out. Each error adds character and value, and the 2001 D penny is no exception. Examples with dramatic errors are rare, but they do exist and are highly collectible. For the average collector, the condition of a coin is everything. Coins are graded on a scale, with circulated examples at the bottom and pristine, mint-state examples at the top. A penny that has been carried around in pockets and purses for years will show heavy wear, but one kept untouched in original rolls may retain its original luster. Collectors seek out coins in the highest grades possible, and that is where the real value emerges. A 2001 D penny in poor condition may only be worth its face value of 1 cent, but in the highest condition, it can command significant sums at auction. This contrast between the ordinary and the extraordinary is what makes coin collecting such a fascinating hobby. One never knows when an ordinary coin could turn out to be a hidden gem. Beyond their physical value, pennies carry historical and cultural significance. The Lincoln cent is more than just a coin. It is a piece of American identity. It reflects the values of a nation that honors one of its greatest leaders, Abraham Lincoln, whose image has graced the coin for more than a century. Holding a 2001 D penny is like holding a tiny piece of history, a reminder of a year when the world was changing rapidly. Technology was advancing, and yet the humble penny continued to circulate in every pocket and purse across the country. For some, pennies are simply small coins, but for others they are storytellers, connecting generations through history, design, and tradition. Collectors often build entire sets of Lincoln cents, striving to own one from every year and every mint mark. Completing such a collection is a rewarding challenge, and the 2001 D penny plays an essential role in any modern Lincoln cent set. For newer collectors, it offers an affordable entry point, while advanced collectors may search for that perfect high-grade specimen or unique error that elevates their collection to the next level. The pursuit of these coins is not only about money, it is about the thrill of discovery, the appreciation of history, and the passion for preservation. One of the fascinating aspects of the 2001 D penny is that many people may have handled one without realizing its potential. It could have been given as change at a store, dropped into a fountain, or saved in a piggy bank. Somewhere out there, perhaps in a jar of coins sitting untouched in someone's attic, lies a pristine 2001 D penny waiting to be discovered. This mystery is what excites collectors, the possibility that hidden among ordinary coins are extraordinary finds. The Lincoln cent has always been a coin that connects people. It is the coin of childhood allowances, of wishing wells, of small acts of kindness where someone says, "A penny for your thoughts." Yet behind its everyday nature lies a world of collectors who study its every detail, catalog its every variation, and cherish its role in American history. The 2001 D penny may not be the rarest coin in existence, but within the world of numismatics, it has its place as a modern collectible with stories to tell and value to offer. As the years pass, coins like the 2001 D Lincoln cent become more interesting to collectors. While billions may have been minted, time takes its toll and fewer remain in pristine condition. Coins get lost, damaged, or destroyed, making high-quality survivors even more precious. This natural process of attrition ensures that coins once considered common can, over decades, become rare. Collectors understand this, and that is why even modern pennies are carefully saved, graded, and preserved. The value of any coin comes down to rarity, demand, and condition. The 2001 D penny may be modern, but examples in top condition have surprised many at auctions. While the everyday circulated penny is worth only a cent, the finest specimens can sell for thousands. This contrast is astonishing to those unfamiliar with coin collecting, but for enthusiasts it makes perfect sense. After all, numismatics is about celebrating the exceptional, the unusual, and the historic. And so, as we come to the end of this exploration of the 2001 D mintmark Lincoln 1-cent penny, it becomes clear that this small coin holds more than just monetary value. It is a symbol of tradition, a piece of history, and a collectible treasure that bridges the ordinary with the extraordinary. Collectors around the world continue to hunt for the finest examples, searching through rolls of coins, scouring auctions, and preserving the best specimens they can find. While most 2001 D pennies will always remain worth a single cent, the finest examples in uncirculated condition, preserved with full luster and perfect surfaces, have stunned collectors and achieved auction prices as high as $18,378. The story of the American penny is not just about copper and zinc, or the tiny coin we often ignore at the bottom of our pockets. It is a story of history, artistry, mistakes, and sometimes hidden treasure. Today, we dive deep into the fascinating world of one particular coin that many people overlook, the 2001 No Mint Mark Lincoln 1-cent penny. You might have seen this coin countless times without realizing its potential, but by the end of this journey, you will never look at your loose change the same way again. The Lincoln cent has been a staple in American coinage for more than a century. First introduced in 1909 to celebrate the centennial of Abraham Lincoln's birth, the penny quickly became one of the most iconic coins in circulation. Designed by Victor David Brenner, The coin originally featured 2 wheat stalks on the reverse. Over the decades, designs evolved, but Lincoln's profile on the obverse remained constant, cementing his place as a permanent face on America's smallest denomination. Fast forward to the year 2001. By this time, the Lincoln Memorial reverse had already been circulating for decades, since its introduction in 1959. Millions upon millions of pennies were struck each year, and in 2001, the U.S. Mint produced an astronomical number of them. With so many coins created, one might assume none could possibly be valuable. After all, how could a penny minted in such high numbers ever be worth more than a cent? This is where the magic of coin collecting comes in. The 2001 Lincoln cent comes in several forms, depending on where it was struck. Coins minted in Denver carry the D mint mark, while those minted in Philadelphia carry no mint mark at all. This lack of a mint mark does not mean the coin is a mistake. It simply means that Philadelphia struck it. However, within these no mint mark coins, there are subtle variations, errors, and conditions that make certain examples highly sought after by collectors. The first thing to consider when looking at a 2001 penny is its condition. Most pennies from this year are heavily circulated, with scratches, discoloration, and wear that make them worth only face value. However, coins that have survived in pristine, uncirculated condition, especially those with a brilliant red copper shine, can command impressive premiums. Collectors pay close attention to the luster, strike quality, and even the tiniest imperfections when evaluating these coins. Another factor that determines value is errors. The U.S. Mint produces billions of coins every year, and despite its advanced machinery, mistakes sometimes slip through. These mint errors can turn an ordinary penny into something extraordinary. On the 2001 no mint mark penny, collectors have documented several fascinating error types. For example, some coins show off-center strikes, where the design is not properly aligned with the coin's surface. Others feature die cracks, doubling of letters or numbers, or even clipped planchets where a portion of the coin's edge is missing. Each error is unique, making such coins more like rare artifacts than pocket change. One of the most intriguing varieties is the double die error, where certain parts of the design appear duplicated. On a 2001 penny, doubling might be visible on the date, the words "In God We Trust," or even the details of the Lincoln Memorial on the reverse. For collectors, spotting such a variety is like finding hidden treasure. Even small doubling can push a coin's value far beyond its humble face value. Beyond errors and condition, there is also the allure of rarity in top-graded examples. Professional grading services, such as PCGS and NGC, evaluate coins on a scale from 1 to 70, with 70 being a flawless specimen. A 2001 no mint mark penny graded MS67 or higher can fetch a surprising sum at auction because so few examples survive in such pristine condition. The combination of rarity, demand, and condition drives values upward in the collector's market. Let's also consider the historical context. In 2001, America was entering a new millennium. The economy was shifting, technology was booming, and the country was experiencing profound cultural change. To own a 2001 penny in remarkable condition is to hold a tiny artifact of that pivotal time. For some collectors, the sentimental or historical connection adds to the coin's desirability. But what truly makes the 2001 no mint mark penny fascinating is the way it demonstrates the unpredictability of coin collecting. A penny minted by the millions, something we often dismiss as pocket change, can sometimes shock the numismatic world when one surfaces in superb condition or with a dramatic error. This is why so many collectors meticulously examine every coin they come across. That simple copper-plated zinc disc could hold a story or a fortune. As you dig deeper, you'll find that auction records reveal just how passionate collectors can be about this coin. Some examples have sold for hundreds, even thousands of dollars, when they combine pristine condition with rarity. Imagine holding something in your hand that most people overlook every day and realizing it's worth more than a collector's prized possession. That thrill is what drives the hunt for coins like the 2001 no mint mark penny. It's also important to understand how to identify whether you have a valuable one. Start by checking for mint marks. If your penny has no mint mark, it was struck in Philadelphia. Then look closely at the coin's condition under good lighting. Does it still retain its original red shine, or has it turned brown and worn? Next, examine the coin for errors. A magnifying glass can reveal doubling, cracks, or other oddities that the naked eye might miss. If you think you found something unusual, comparing it to known error listings online, or sending it to a grading service is the next step. Collectors also love to look for die varieties. Sometimes, a small difference in how the dies were made leads to unique features that set a coin apart. These varieties might not be as dramatic as a major mint error, but they still attract attention from dedicated enthusiasts. The beauty of coin collecting is that it connects everyday people to history, art, and discovery. Holding a 2001 penny, you might think of it as ordinary, but once you know its potential, it becomes extraordinary. This tiny piece of metal becomes a symbol of possibility, a reminder that even the smallest things can hold great value. As the years go by, coins like the 2001 no mintmark penny only become scarcer in top grades. Circulation wears them down, time tarnishes their surfaces, and fewer remain in the kind of condition that collectors prize. That scarcity fuels demand, ensuring that the value of these coins continues to intrigue and surprise. So next time you find yourself with a handful of change, don't dismiss those pennies. Look closer. Inspect the date, check for mint marks, and pay attention to the details. You might just stumble across a coin that others have overlooked for decades. You might discover a treasure hiding in plain sight. The 2001 no mintmark Lincoln cent is a reminder that collecting is about more than money. It's about the stories coins tell, the history they carry, and the thrill of discovery. From the artistry of Victor David Brenner's original design to the countless variations struck over the years, the penny is more than just 1 cent. It's a gateway into the rich world of American numismatics. And now, as we conclude, let's reveal just how valuable this coin can be. While most 2001 pennies will always remain worth just 1 cent, the rarest, most pristine or era-struck examples have been known to fetch incredible sums. In fact, some of the finest examples of the 2001 no mintmark Lincoln 1 cent penny have reached an astonishing price of $9,898. The story of the Lincoln cent is one of the most fascinating chapters in the history of American coinage. Among the many years, varieties, and mint marks, the 2004 D. Lincoln penny holds a place that collectors cannot ignore. At first glance, it may seem like just another copper-plated zinc coin, something that millions of Americans carried in their pockets without giving it much thought. But in reality, there are small details, subtle varieties, and intriguing facts that turn this humble 1 cent piece into a coin worthy of attention, research, and in some cases, serious money. The Lincoln cent, introduced in 1909, has been a constant presence in American life. It was first struck to honor the centennial of Abraham Lincoln's birth, making it the first regular-issue U.S. coin to feature a real person instead of the symbolic figures of liberty that had adorned coins for over a century. Sculptor Victor David Brenner's portrait of Lincoln became instantly recognizable and remains one of the most enduring designs in U.S. coinage. Over the decades, the reverse of the coin changed, first with the wheat ears design, then with the Lincoln Memorial in 1959, and later with commemorative designs in 2009. But the obverse portrait of Lincoln has always remained. By the year 2004, the Lincoln Memorial design had been in circulation for 45 years. Millions upon millions of coins were minted each year, both at the Philadelphia Mint and the Denver Mint. The Denver Mint, identified by the letter D under the date, produced an enormous number of 2004 Lincoln cents. To most people, they were just everyday pocket change. Yet coin collectors know better, because even among the most common coins, there are treasures waiting to be found. The 2004 D. Lincoln penny is a copper-plated zinc coin, weighing 2.5 grams with a diameter of 19 millimeters. The obverse bears Lincoln's portrait with the inscriptions, "In God We Trust," "Liberty," and the date, while the reverse shows the iconic Lincoln Memorial with United States of America, E pluribus unum, and the denomination 1 cent. At first glance, it is no different from pennies minted in other years. But the reality is that tiny differences, errors, varieties, and conditions make all the difference when it comes to value. One of the reasons the 2004 D penny has attracted attention is because of the condition-sensitive nature of modern copper-plated coins. Unlike the older bronze cents, the modern zinc core with a thin copper plating is more fragile and susceptible to wear, corrosion, and discoloration. That means finding a pristine example, especially in higher mint state grades, can be surprisingly challenging. Collectors who seek perfection know how rare it is to find a flawless coin, and this scarcity of condition boosts value. Another factor that excites collectors are the varieties and minting errors associated with the 2004 Lincoln cents. During production, the minting process occasionally produces coins with doubled dies, off-center strikes, broad strikes, die cracks, or plating errors. Some 2004 D pennies have been discovered with noticeable doubling on the lettering or numbers. Others display unusual surface textures due to plating issues, giving them an appearance that stands out immediately. These errors can command impressive premiums, depending on their rarity and visual appeal. Even beyond errors, collectors value coins graded at the highest levels. A 2004 D Lincoln cent in circulation is worth face value. But once you step into the world of uncirculated and professionally graded coins, the story changes. Coins graded MS-67 or higher by services like PCGS or NGC can bring in substantial sums, simply because such perfection is exceedingly rare among coins that were mass-produced and widely circulated. Imagine the millions of coins struck in Denver in 2004, and then realize how few survive without a single scratch, nick, or imperfection. That scarcity is what drives collectors to pay big money for certified examples. The Denver Mint itself has a rich history. Located in Colorado, it has been producing coins since 1906 and is known for its high-volume output. In 2004, it struck billions of pennies, making the survival of extraordinary quality coins even more remarkable. The D mintmark is not only a letter, it's a reminder of the vast operations that fuel America's currency system. And for collectors, it is a critical detail that differentiates one coin from another. One fascinating aspect of coin collecting is how modern coins like the 2004 D penny bridge the gap between everyday money and collectible history. Most people think of rare coins as being old, centuries-old silver dollars, gold coins from the 1800s, or Civil War-era currency. But the truth is that modern coins can become valuable almost immediately if they have something unusual about them. That's why coin roll hunters, collectors who search through rolls of coins from banks, love modern Lincoln cents. They know that even a coin as recent as 2004 can hide a treasure. Imagine the excitement of discovering a 2004 D penny in perfect condition, with blazing red luster, sharp details, and not a single blemish. That coin, once just worth a penny, could suddenly be worth hundreds or even thousands of dollars. Collectors compete fiercely for such examples, and auction records show that common dates can command extraordinary prices when they are the finest known. Another dimension to the 2004 D penny's story is its place in the broader timeline of Lincoln cents. Just 5 years later, in 2009, the U.S. Mint would celebrate the bicentennial of Abraham Lincoln's birth with 4 special reverse designs, marking the end of the long-running Lincoln Memorial reverse. That means the 2004 D penny is part of the last years of the memorial design, giving it added historical significance. For collectors building complete sets, these later memorial cents are a must-have. The psychology of collecting plays a role too. Many collectors today are people who grew up using the Lincoln Memorial cents, and so coins like the 2004 D penny hold nostalgic value. They represent not just money, but memories of childhood, of family, of everyday life in early 2000s America. When nostalgia mixes with rarity, value often follows. There are also lessons here for new collectors. The story of the 2004 D penny teaches us that no coin should ever be dismissed as just pocket change. Every coin carries a story, and every coin has the potential to surprise. If you look closely, you might find a doubled die, an off-center strike, or a coin in pristine condition that elevates it far beyond face value. That's the beauty of numismatics. It turns the ordinary into the extraordinary. Coin auctions often provide a stage for these surprises. When a 2004 D penny shows up at auction in top condition, the bidding can be fierce. Collectors recognize how rare these high-grade coins are, and they are willing to pay strong prices to secure them. What might seem like a simple 1-cent coin can transform into a centerpiece of a collection, a conversation starter, and even a small investment. It's important to remember that condition is king. Most 2004 D pennies are worth only a cent, but the few that are preserved in top condition are worth far more. This teaches an important lesson for anyone interested in coin collecting. Handle your coins carefully, store them properly, and never underestimate the potential of modern issues. As we reflect on the story of the 2004 D Lincoln penny, we see how much history, artistry, and intrigue can be packed into such a small piece of metal. From Abraham Lincoln's enduring legacy to the Denver Mint's massive production, from minting errors to pristine examples, this coin embodies the fascinating world of numismatics. It reminds us that even in the most common places, in our change jars, in our wallets, in rolls of coins from the bank, there are treasures waiting to be discovered. And here is where the story takes its most exciting turn. Because while many examples of the 2004 D penny are worth little more than face value, there exists one recorded instance where this humble coin achieved an astounding price. At auction, in pristine condition and certified at the highest level, a 2004 D Lincoln 1-cent penny sold for an incredible sum of $11,278. The story of the United States 1-cent coin is one of the most fascinating chapters in American numismatic history. For well over a century, the Lincoln penny has captured the imagination of collectors, historians, and everyday people who unknowingly carried small pieces of history in their pockets. Among the countless pennies that have been minted and circulated through the decades, some particular dates and varieties stand out because of their unique features, minting quirks, or extremely limited numbers. One such coin that has sparked growing interest among collectors is the 2016 no-mintmark Lincoln 1-cent penny. At first glance, it may seem like an ordinary penny you might find in your change from the grocery store, but its story is richer and more fascinating than you might expect. When you look at the face of a Lincoln cent, you immediately notice the portrait of Abraham Lincoln, the 16th President of the United States. His stern but thoughtful expression has adorned the 1-cent coin since 1909, when the country celebrated the centennial of his birth. This design, created by Victor David Brenner, was the first U.S. coin to feature a real historical person rather than an allegorical figure. It was a turning point in American coinage, and the Lincoln penny quickly became one of the most beloved coins in the nation's history. Over the years, the Lincoln penny has undergone changes in its reverse design. From 1909 to 1958, the reverse featured wheat stalks on either side, giving birth to the term wheat penny. From 1959 through 2008, the reverse carried the Lincoln Memorial, symbolizing the lasting tribute to his legacy. Then, in 2010, the coin saw yet another transformation with the introduction of the Union Shield reverse, which continues to this day. The shield is meant to represent Lincoln's preservation of the United States as a single, united country during the Civil War. By 2016, the Lincoln penny had already lived through more than a century of American history. Millions of them were struck that year, but here's where things become interesting. Most coins have a mint mark that identifies the U.S. Mint facility where they were produced. A small letter D indicates the Denver Mint, while an S represents San Francisco, and a P generally marks Philadelphia on some denominations. However, for many years, pennies minted in Philadelphia carried no mint mark at all. Collectors refer to these coins as no-mint-mark pennies, and although they were quite common historically, modern no-mint-mark pennies sometimes stand out because they can confuse the casual observer. The 2016 no-mint-mark penny was minted at the Philadelphia facility. Unlike its Denver counterpart with the D mint mark, the Philadelphia pennies from this year bear no identifying letter beneath the date. At first glance, many people assume something is wrong with their coin or that it might be an error. In reality, it's simply how Philadelphia struck its 1-cent coins that year. What makes this particular issue more special, however, is not just the absence of a mint mark, but the fact that a number of these coins have turned up in remarkably pristine condition, and some have been discovered with subtle die varieties and errors that collectors are now hunting for. Errors and varieties are part of what makes coin collecting so exciting. The tiniest mistake at the mint can turn an ordinary piece of pocket change into a numismatic treasure worth hundreds or even thousands of dollars. For the 2016 no-mint-mark Lincoln cent, enthusiasts often look for doubled dies, off-center strikes, or even small imperfections that occurred during the minting process. These imperfections create unique one-of-a-kind coins that stand apart from the millions of standard issues. Some of the most sought-after examples include pennies with slight doubling on the lettering or date, which can only be seen under magnification, but dramatically increase the coin's value. Condition is another major factor that determines a coin's desirability. Coins that enter circulation almost immediately begin to suffer scratches, dings, and wear from handling. That's why uncirculated examples, which were never spent and preserved in near-perfect state, command higher prices. Collectors pay close attention to grading, which ranges from poor, the lowest, all the way up to mint state or even proof-like. A 2016 no mint mark penny in average circulated condition may be worth just face value. But when you encounter a specimen graded at the higher mint state levels, its worth can skyrocket. Another reason the 2016 no mint mark penny draws attention is because of its role in modern collecting trends. In recent years, the popularity of searching pocket change for rare and valuable coins has exploded, thanks in part to online videos, collector forums, and social media. Everyday people are learning that the humble coins rattling around in their car cup holders or tucked away in old jars at home may hide small treasures. The thrill of discovery has fueled a new generation of numismatists who are eager to explore coins like the 2016 no mint mark cent. The appeal of Lincoln pennies lies not only in their potential value, but also in the history they represent. Holding one is like holding a tangible piece of America's past. The 2016 cent carries the portrait of a president who guided the country through its darkest hour, along with a shield symbolizing unity, resilience, and strength. Even if you never find a rare variety or a high-grade example, there's something special about recognizing the artistry and symbolism in such a small coin. When evaluating your own 2016 no mint mark penny, there are a few things to keep in mind. First, look closely at the coin under good lighting. Check the date and confirm there is no mint mark under it. Then inspect the lettering, Lincoln's profile, and the shield on the reverse. If you notice doubling, unusual spacing, or signs that the strike was off-center, you may have something more than just a regular penny. Next, consider the condition. If your coin still has its original shine, sharp details, and no obvious wear, it could be worth setting aside for grading. Finally, research recent sales online and in coin auctions to see how similar coins are performing in the market. Coin values can fluctuate with demand, availability, and the grading population, meaning how many high-quality examples exist. Even coins that seem ordinary can surprise collectors with their realized auction prices. The 2016 no mint mark Lincoln penny has been no exception, with some examples achieving remarkable results when properly graded and sold. Collectors who specialize in modern coins often emphasize the importance of building sets that include every date and mint mark combination. Having a 2016 no mint mark penny in pristine condition adds depth to such collections, and demand for high-quality examples has grown steadily. Some people underestimate modern pennies, assuming only older issues like the wheat cents are valuable. But numismatic history has shown time and again that even relatively recent coins can command serious interest when they are scarce in top condition. The story of the Lincoln cent is still being written. Every year, new discoveries about varieties and errors capture headlines in the coin collecting community. The 2016 no mint mark penny continues to play its part in this unfolding story, reminding us that treasures don't always come in gold or silver. Sometimes, they are found in the smallest coin of all, the penny. For those who are just beginning their collecting journey, the lesson here is simple. Never overlook the coins you encounter daily. What appears ordinary may, upon closer inspection, turn out to be extraordinary. The excitement of finding a valuable penny keeps the spirit of numismatics alive and ensures that coins like the 2016 no mint mark Lincoln cent will remain in the spotlight for years to come. And now, for the part that makes every collector lean in with curiosity, the potential value. While many 2016 no mint mark pennies are worth only a cent in circulation, the finest, rarest, and most desirable examples, especially those with pristine grades and error varieties, have been valued at an astonishing $9,266.